So I loaded up this Blackmagic Raw clip and pushed the primary wheel saturation slider all the way to the max. Look at the vector scope right now. You see how it's stretching like a balloon? The colors are getting brighter as they saturate. That's the problem. That's why your footage looks digital and plastic, because you are using an additive saturation engine that brightens pixels as it adds color. Film doesn't work like that. In the real world, more dye means less light. More color should equal darker image, not brighter. Today, I'm showing you 7 ways to saturate your video from the absolute worst method to the best solution using 2026 color science. We are testing everything on one single clip so you can see exactly which engine produces the most authentic result. By the end, you will understand why most colorists are destroying their images and how to fix it. Before we test any saturation method, we need to set up proper color management. This clip is Blackmagic Raw. You can download the exact same footage from the official DaVinci Resolve website, link in the description, and follow along. First thing, go down to the Camera Raw tab. You will see color science options recorded at the project level. You can use camera metadata or stay with the project setting. I'm going to use color management here. So click on the gear icon on the bottom right, go down to YRGB color management. When you turn on automatic color management, you will instantly see a very different look. For this method, sometimes you need to go to the clip level and adjust the ISO to reset the exposure distribution across the entire scene. You can also use camera metadata as well, but it needs manual tweaking. So I always prefer clip level adjustments. The other options is manual color management. So go to custom, you need to know your color space and size. I'm choosing Blackmagic Design Video Gen 5, which is printed in the raw data information, then Blackmagic Gen 5 SDR timeline, then my monitor is Rec 709 2.4 as the output. Click that and it's converted. So now tune the ISO to adjust the overall exposure. I think 250 is perfect. The skin, the distribution of the waveform looks right. This setup is critical because when we push saturation to the extreme, nothing will explode or clip because we're still working on the bigger timeline color space, taking advantage of the full raw color space with an invisible color space transformation before the delivery. So you don't have to do any CST at all. So that is the best method in dealing with raw. So this answers one of our subscribers' question and hope this addresses your concern. So let me build the first version. I will name it primary. Turn on the scope so you can see the parade and vector scope. The most basic way to achieve saturation is primary wheels. Watch what happens when I increase saturation to the max. It's terrible. This is the worst method because it's a global uniform additive color engine. Look at the vector scope. It's stretching all the pixels and brightening at the waveform RGB parade. Look at it. Imagine you are blowing out a balloon. As the balloon gets bigger, the skin gets thinner while your colors get thinner too. The dye on the vector is getting stretched. Film doesn't work in this way. As more colors comes in, it should be darker, not brighter. So let's be consistent for comparison. I will drag the red color to touch the top right corner of the red vector scope box. So we have a fair comparison across all the tools we're going to introduce in our video. Next version, color boost. So let's reset the primary saturation. Now increase the color boost until the red tip touches the corner again. Let's cross compare the two versions, primary versus color boost. The difference is color boost targets non-uniformly. Look at the central spectrum of the vector scope. It's spreading and treating all the neutrals and less saturated areas more aggressively. The ends of the vector scope aren't really affected much, but the center gets hit hard. The color boost has a mathematical roll-off where it targets less saturated areas to become more saturated. If I push color boost even higher to the max, it gets worse. Still, additive color science. Now, let's move on to something more gradual. Create another version called HDR saturation. Go to HDR wheels. Under global, you have a saturation slider. Watch as I increase this until it hits the corner of the red box. Now, look at the image. Before, after. It's better. The difference is in the waveform. Pair color boost versus HDR set, you can see the change in luminance preservation. As you push saturation, the waveform and luminance actually drops. The scene gets darker as saturation increases. HDR set works best among these three methods. It's even better if you use the timeline dots, 3 dots here, and you set your color space correctly. If you're not using color space management, you need to manually set color space and gamma for the best result. result. Now compare the first primary version, color boost version, and HDR set. HDR set definitely produce a more film-like treatment. You are decreasing luminance while increasing saturation. We are getting closer to very authentic color. If you think this is great, wait until the end. You will understand the real power of math and technology. Now let's move to the next tool. This one is slightly different and less appreciated. It's called Color Mixer. In the latest DaVinci Sync version 19, there is a feature called Auto-Normalize. When you increase the red output and green output and even the blue output to a higher value, the image gets more saturated. So let's try it when I increase the value to 1.2 for both green, red, blue, and look at what it does to the image. If you compare the versions, HDR set, Color Boost versus Color Mixer, I think Color Mixer is too strong. So let me try this. Turn on Auto-Normalize. It's better now because it's calibrating the compensation in other outputs within the same channel. The difference between normalized and not normalized as it controls the behavior and the balance between the outputs. So the channel always add up to 1. So that's the logic. So Color Mixer balance how it treats highlights and shadows better, but it's still additive. It's not subtractive saturation. So far, the winner is still HDR saturation, but there are better ways to do it. Let's talk about color slice first. Color slice works on a very totally different logic. Create a color slice version, so let's watch the parade carefully. When I increase the saturation to stretch to the red corner, look at the image. The image is getting denseness in the tone. As the image gets more saturated, it's similar to HDR saturation, but HDR saturation with proper color space transform, I still feel it works better than color slice in my personal opinion because it's color space aware. And it allows you to create a different levels of weight. Compared to HDR set versus color slide, the biggest difference is how much it pushes the overall brightness down while creating better saturation spread. If you compare closely, color slides produce the most dense color when saturating. Film dye emulation is always the key. As you increase saturation on the film stock, more dye blocks more light and leads to darker image. We are moving in the film emulation direction with this science. We shouldn't overstretch it so hard, but we are stretching the vector scope. I still feel HDR saturation does a better job than color slice, only provided if you have set with the correct color management and color space. Now let's look at the density slider in color slice. This is the downfall of this tool. The density slider doesn't really create saturation. When you increase the value, it changes the luminance slightly, but it's very artificial and fragile. If you look at what we do here, it doesn't look authentic at all. When you add more density, this is not legitimate. This might not be the best way to reproduce the look. Try to avoid the density slider. Just use the saturation. It has the subtractive engine in place, but it's still not good enough. The power of color slice is individual color adjustment, but the problem is you can't see where these channels you are adjusting. You are just guessing the range. The skin is a problem. Is it red? Is it yellow? Is it under skin? Let's try. If you increase the skin, it's partial. You can't really center around and shift the weight of how we define exactly where is the range. Where is the skin? It's fixed. And that's a limitation of color slice. The math is still not there yet. So next, let's move on to the next way of adding saturation, which is color warper. We will use the traditional color warper hue versus set. You see different modes here, HSV, HSL, HSY, different color spaces and tones. We are talking about HSV. What you see on the vector scope here is almost the same as our vector scope. Hover your cursor over the image and increase the saturation of certain colors. This gives very good treatment to all colors on the scene. But it could be very extreme, so be very careful when you push the value too far. There is a way to define it. You can make it more refined, 16 to 16, 12 to 12. More points means more precision control over the colors, or you can simply drop a point on the respective color in the scene. For example, red here, with just one click. Once we drop a point, you can see it's reflected on the warper. And now we can use the slider on the right side to just saturate those colors. Click on the green and increase the green. You have very different color treatment on the scene. We are creating different gradual scopes and looks. If you cross compare color mixer, color slice, color warper does feel better in terms of saturation, especially when you can choose the model of the color space you want to work with. But that's my personal opinion. It delivers better results because the precision is more precise, then color slice, and you can see where you are adjusting. But the math behind make it very draining on your timeline and CPU because Color Whopper is working on pixel-based kind of format, so it's very draining on CPU. Once you set a few nodes of this, your entire playback will slow down. Last way we are showing is also within the HSV method, but you need to set the node color space to something else. So we need to instead of the default, we need to choose HSV, hue, saturation, and value. In channels, disable channel 1 and 3. So we want to keep channel 2, which is saturation only. Now, go back to your primary wheels. When I increase the offset, look at how it spreads the entire image. Look at the parade and how it shifts and nudges from the bottom. It's achieving subtractive saturation, lower our luminance while saturating image. But look at the vector scope spread. It's very unique compared to color slice and even color mixer. So what exactly is the magic here? It's mathematically increasing and spreading all the colors uniformly across space when using the offset. If you use gain wheel, it targets the highlight areas, gamma targets midtone, and if you leave gamma, gain, now it becomes regional control of your tonal saturation. The difference is color slice gives even more density across the entire image, while HSV node has a different gradual roll-off, depends on which wheel you use, offset or gain. Technically, you have 4 ways to saturate these functions. So this is a very professional way to add film density to the scene. As you feel the color is getting more saturated, the colors gets deeper. But now there is a real problem. How do you have the best additive color engine and the subtractive color engine at the same time with the ability to see where the color is and manipulate all those colors? That's what the ultimate 2026 solution comes in, PFA Color Suite. This method is game-changing because let's look at saturation under the color engine for color swap. We renamed it from color slider. When we increase saturation to pick and hit the corner of the red box, look how well it targets overall additive behavior. Comparing with our very first primary method versus PFA Color Suite, HSV, Color Boost, Color Slice, Color Whopper, it creates additive color science. It stretches your image. But look how gradual the shift is in treats uniformity with the color isolation. It's done very well to preserve the image accuracy. We have the mask system where you see the eye of DaVinci Resolve. Previous tools, you are guessing where you are changing. Here, you are having that precision. I can tell DaVinci, hey, these areas are red only. I can change the hue, change the saturation, target the specific areas exactly where it is needed. This is color slice on steroids with the latest color science technology. Now I can switch green to a different hue, change cyan to a different color. There are so many creative possibilities out of this package, and it's built on 32-bit float math. No matter how crazy you go, it will play back at full speed. And so this is just color swap, the additive engine. What if we bring color density into play? Go to color density. Watch what happens when we increase the global density. We just nudge a little to get denseness, stretch to the corner for extreme comparison. Look at color slice now versus PFA Color Suite. The drastic difference is how even the entire image is. Color slice shows uneven colors in highlights and ceiling. PFA Color Suite creates an authentic richness and roll-off. Our density, unlike color slice, has the same precision as color swap. You are precise about where you want to affect. You can use the mask to change your selection. You have total power to create color depth at any kind of look that you want. I want certain colors more dense than the others. I want green less dense than blue. Select all green, make it less dense. You see how subtly it shapes the green towards center to create distance. Use density to adjust colors in the frame. Pop the red and reduce it. This creates an ultimate color depth control where you want the density result. Balance these two together, control red while pushing full saturation for additive and enhance it with density. Look at how well this version compares to color slice. Color distribution is the same, but we stay on the skin tone line, protecting skin while keeping color denseness. You have the absolute control of every single spectrum. Use color swap to swap red to golden tone or whatever you want. That's the power of this toolkit. Absolute control of every single color in your frame with built-in color size and matrix. Mix and match. Use additive to increase brightness. Use density to deepen the looks. Together, they create a more saturated image in a marriage of color isolation, additive engine, and subtractive engine. That's the marriage of all the worlds together in one suit. And this is just the power of the one engine, two tools under the 11 that is in PFA Color Suite. That's just mind-blowing, right? So your dream that everything can be done in one node is possible right now. Look at all the options. HDR set produce great subtractive result. Color mixer is still additive, increasing brightness overall. Color slice is subtractive, but density isn't real. You are guessing where you are adjusting color slice. Color warper has better precision. You decide where you want adjustment with very high regional control, but it's not really additive. HST method gives tonal range control. PFA Color Suite gives absolute control of density, additive edging, subtractive edging, and most organic separation. You have the precision to change where the pixels should be. Change the hue to different colors and tones so accurately. Change how software interpolates colors. It's a Swiss Army knife that you can become the color science engineer. Combining all this, you will get playback at 24 frames per second on this raw footage on 4K timeline. That's insane. As a colorist, you want absolute control. Understanding when to use additive, when to use subtractive edging, when to use color isolation is all the power in your hands right now. So download the free trial of PFA Color Suite 7.1, enjoy all features free before purchase. Price will never be this low soon. We are running $80 off. You will never see this price again by the end of this month. My name is Nash, Passion Fuels Ambition. I will see you in the next one.